Ishvara Srishti is flawless and beautiful. Jiva Srishti is full of divisions and flaws due to ignorance. See, as I said, the whole of manifestation flows out of limitation. And ignorance is a consequence of that limitation. So, as you rightly said, if you look at nature, it is not something which is put together by human beings, as frequently Jiddu Krishnamurti used to say. There's a beautiful mountain, there's a beautiful tree, there's a beautiful cloud, or a beautiful bird. This is something which is not created by the human mind, isn't it? So, nature or manifestation by itself is, as you rightly said, flawless and beautiful. But anything the mind puts together through its limitation, through its operations, always creates ugliness, always creates conflict, always creates division. So unless we connect ourselves to that flawless beauty, to the transcendent aspect of manifestation, we will continue to create ugliness only. We'll continue to, you can't really help it. You can't really help it. Sometimes I find Jiddu Krishnamurti is very brutal in his expression. He very clearly says that whatever the human mind touches, it corrupts. Which is so obvious actually. The world we have created is a consequence of the human mind. We have never thought in terms of a dimension which is beyond the mind and which can be a source of creativity in itself, which can be a great source of creation, which can be a great source of beauty, which can be a great source of joy, ecstasy, and bliss. We have never connected to that. And those who have connected to it have obviously realized it, have come to it, have come to it. Otherwise, what happens is we will continue to create only disharmony, continue to create only conflict and confusion in this whole process. So that is very interesting. Your this thing. And SVR Shetty ji, thank you, sir, for interest in the evolution is explained. Yeah, the question of who is responsible for this evolution is actually what is called, I would say, a wrong question to be put at this level of our understanding. Pardon me if I say so, because unless you connect to that transcendent dimension, you will not really find answers to human misery. You will not find the way out of from a way out from this the situation in which we are stuck. So putting a question as to who is responsible for evolution is in my view a wrong question, but you can modify the question and say, what is it that I am responsible for in my actions? Are my actions leading to further confusion and conflict, or are they connected to that compassion, love, and beauty? Every action of mine, is it enhancing that the presence of that compassion, the presence of that great love and beauty, or is it diminishing it and creating more of ugliness and conflict and confusion? So in a way, when you connect to the transcendent, you also realize that you are tremendously responsible for the entire world. It is said of the Buddha, the Buddhist literature has got some very beautiful insights into the nature of the Buddha. The Buddha is not an individual. The Buddha is a very transcendent state of awakening and consciousness. Therefore, normally they refer to him as Gautama the Buddha, Gautama the awakened one. So the state of it refers to a state of consciousness where he has realized the immense sorrow in this creation, in this whole of the world. And he said, I will remain connected to it till every individual human being comes out of this sorrow. So the Buddhists say that the presence of Buddha, it's a true and living presence, and he is connected to all of us because his great responsibility is to see that all of us, every individual is put out of this misery and sorrow. So one becomes responsible for the whole world. One becomes tremendously responsible for everything that we are doing. So it is imperative to come to it and understand that, yes, I have to take responsibility for this, and my actions should in no way contribute to the conflict and confusion that is prevailing in this world. That's a starting point for our spiritual journey in one way. So any other questions, sir? We have some time. We have spent about 55 minutes now till now. So if there is any question, we can, or any observation, we can discuss that. Janaki Ramji, I don't see Janaki Ramji here, or anybody else. If he has, I would like you to respond and tell me, are we able to see these three dimensions which I am talking about and the three takeaways I have given? Because this is something one needs to work on, and one needs to connect to one's core. As I said, Rutambhara Wellness, we have different dimensions to it. One of the dimensions which the talks are based around one important dimension which we call as connected to the core. So under that, this particular subject, I wanted to deal with this particular subject to give you a flavor of what is ignorance, what is immanence, and what is transcendence, and how we need to recognize it, how we need to perceive the immanence of it, and how we need to experientially connect to the transcendence of it. Any further questions, sir, or shall we close today's session? If there are no further questions,
yeah, one from Ramachandranji.
Yeah, Ramchandranji, subject is for introspection and reflection. Obviously, that is the purpose of it. See, that's why what happens is, as the Bhagavad Gita or any other tradition says, we are not very seriously interested in this. There are a million things of interest to us in the world. I would not call it as unfortunate, but I would call it as one prevalent aspect of ignorance. Why is it that very few people connect to it? Why is it that very few people take things seriously? Why is it that a very small, an insignificant number of people only hold on to this and continue with it? Because the level of ignorance is such that we think that we have a million things to do in life. In spite of the impact of this COVID-19, it has not really shaken us at the core. Though we have seen people dying, known to us, close to us, who were there yesterday, who are not there today. But what happens? Nothing much has happened. We continue our life and then think that connecting to our core is not so important to us. Connecting to our core doesn't appear to be so important to us because we have a million things to do in this life. Suddenly we'll remember that, okay, sir, after this discussion, I need to go and prepare dinner. It's important to prepare dinner. It's important to take care of things. But it is important to live in this world, but not get totally involved in its activities as though that without them there is no life. Again, we come to that traditional example of the droplet on the lotus leaf. Droplet on the lotus leaf. So there is some question. Yeah. Bharat ji. How can each human being's daily routine in whatever level, small, medium, can go a long radical way? Yeah, that's what I said, sir. Sir, first of all, do we recognize the ignorance part of it? As I mentioned, the takeaway is, do I recognize the presence of ignorance in us and how we are disempowered, how we are stuck in it, how we are stuck in our daily living, and that's the only thing that appears to be important to us. So first aspect is to recognize the ignorance prevalent in us. The second aspect is to see the immanence of the divinity in all manifestation. See the beauty of things, see the divinity in our daily life. So actually all spiritual practice is from the daily life, is daily life. How we react to, how we respond, how we connect to people, how we respond to them, how we live our life, how we see things. What is the importance which we give to things which may not be at all important, which may not have any relevance also, but we give too much of importance to it. Can we see that? And finally, as I said, you have to experience that those moments of joy, those moments of bliss, those moments of ecstasy, because that experience is what is going to bring about a radical and irreversible transformation in us. So the frequency of such contacts, such moments should become more and more and more, and our living should become a matter of great joy. And it only starts with our daily life. Am I giving too much of importance to words? Am I giving too much of importance to money? Am I giving too much of importance to my own ego? Am I letting go of things? Am I in a state of forgiveness? Or do I have a lot of ill will towards people? Do I hate somebody? Do I despise somebody? How do I connect to that person? Because divinity is present in such a person also. So that is where the transformation has to come, sir. It has to come at a much deeper level and in our daily life only. So the more you connect to the core, the more one connects to one's own being, the more one is able to recognize these things. How dominant ignorance is in us, how we are unable to perceive the immanence of divinity, and how the moments of our joy or ecstasy have become so infrequent. Rarely we touch moments of joy or bliss or that great ecstasy. Why is it so? Why can't it be a natural thing for us? That's where we need to connect to it, sir. So it should start with daily life, and it should be a part of one's own daily life, and one need to come to it. And it's not something out of the world. If it is possible for one human being in this world, it is possible for every human being. It is the mental impediment or the barrier or the block which we have created, And this blockade can be a manifestation for the entire humankind, for the entire mankind. It could be a great blockade. So one needs to pierce it. The presence of a Buddha, the coming to the Buddhahood was a great opening of a channel, they said. If it was possible for Gautama, the Buddha, it should be possible for everybody. I normally give this example of, the huge mental block which humanity had about an activity like running 100 meters in less than 10 seconds. Up to 1950s, almost up to mid 1950s, they said all scientists and technologists or whoever the so-called experts have come to the conclusion that it is beyond the ken of human beings to run at a speed which covers 100 meters in less than 10 seconds. So that itself became a blockade. So people have taken it for granted, sir, it's impossible to run at that speed. But once that barrier was broken by one runner, you can find that several people had later on broken that barrier. In the Olympics, if you see the records, there's several people could break that barrier and they could come very close. You know, milliseconds, microseconds matter in somebody like, say, Usain Bolt. It's in microseconds. So you see, we have to break this barrier. This barrier is not individual. This barrier is for the entire humankind. We are creating a barrier by continuing to remain in ignorance. We're continuing to be in this state, and we are creating a bigger and bigger barrier for humanity to cross over, which is unfortunate in one way. One has to be fully empowered, and that is the reason why the Mahavakya of the Vedas, Aham Brahmasmi, is a great affirmation that I am the Brahman, I am that ultimate reality. You know how it empowers? If I can truly say with all my being, with all my mind and heart and my entire being, if I can say that I am Brahman, that is so empowering. That means you are almighty, and you are all powerful, and you can do whatever you want to do. You can create a whole manifestation of your own. So the whole universe is said to be participatory. It's a participatory universe. I can create happiness where I am. I can create that beauty where I am. So that empowerment has to come. That empowerment is what is given by our tradition, our scriptures. That is the importance of the Mahavakyas. Aham Brahmasmi, Ayam Atma Brahma, Prajnanam Brahma. The Tattvamasi. Repeatedly it is said, you are that, thou art that, thou art that. It is repeatedly emphasized. So that is the empowerment which we are talking about. We have to overcome this ignorance, see the presence, see the immanence of divinity in everything, and then empower ourselves to be in that transcendent state, which is all empowering, which gives us the power to create. The source of all creativity is there. Ramchandranji says, seeing the presence of divinity requires different worldview and transcendent mindset over limitations. Yes. Yeah, when we were talking about the Sanskrit yoga, in that Dr. Anuradha talks about, wearing the quantum lens. Quantum lens, if you wear the quantum lens, you see the whole universe pervaded by energy. The whole universe to be undivided. Otherwise, if we see with our own normal vision, we only see division. We only see conflict. We only see confusion and disturbance. So one can come to it by changing the lens, the changing our vision. So that is what is empowerment is all about. And that is why it becomes all important in life to pursue this without any interruption, without any disturbance, without any other thing. This should become the most important thing in our life. Unless we start that, whatever be our age or condition or whatever it is, unless we start this here and now, it will not be carried further. Very beautifully in the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, Yajnavalkya says to Gargi, a great rishi, both are great rishis. He says, Yova gargya yova etadaksharam gargya viditva preti sakrupanaha. He who dies without realizing this imperishable, the akshara, is a miserable wretch, he says. That means our whole life would be in a way wasted. And he who knows this and leaves this body, atha yova etadaksharam viditva praiti sabrahmanaha. He calls only such a person as a brahmana. One who has realized the truth of Brahman is a brahmana. It's not a caste or a community or anything of that nature. The true definition of who a brahmana is given in the Upanishads. He says, one who has come to this imperishable, this knowledge of the imperishable, who has experientially realized the truth of this imperishable, the akshara, sabrahmanaha. He is the true brahmana. Both the words come from Brahman. The word Brahman and Brahmana. The one who has realized that is called as a Brahmana. Unfortunately, we have degenerated to such a level to think about it as a caste or a community, and we have a million divisions within it also. We have innumerable divisions again in each caste and community, because the mind by its own nature is divisive. By its very nature, it is divisive. So unless one recognizes the unity and comes to it, we will continue to be wallowing in this world, in this sorrow and in this misery. That is the whole purpose of addressing such subjects, to connect to our core. I know that I am very conscious of the fact that very few people can come to it, or very few people can connect to it, and very few people would pursue it. But it is important to be a source of sowing the seeds in the human consciousness about such things. What we are doing, as the Buddha said, that it is important to choose the half of spiritual practices, choosing the right companions. As a satsanga, we have all come together. So we are the ones, the pioneers, who need to take it up to a level where we will sow the seeds of such understanding in human consciousness, so that the generations after us, it becomes easier for them to see the springing forth of life from these seeds. These seeds will become saplings, and they are expected to become huge trees of understanding. Ashwatha. See the beauty of each term of our great wisdom. Ashwatha. In Sanskrit, Shwa means tomorrow. Ashwa means that there is no tomorrow. Tha means to be firmly established. So Ashwatha, the vriksha, the tree, Ashwatha means being firmly established in the present, as though there is no tomorrow. The presence, in this presence. So that, see the symbolism of that. That's what the Urdhamulam Adhashakam Ashwatham Prahuravyayam, he says in the Bhagavad Gita. The roots are above and the branches are below. And that is the nature of the tree called Ashwatha. Very beautifully, Shankaracharya explains to us in his commentary and says, Ashwatha means being rooted in the present, being firmly established in the present. So that is the beauty. That is the beauty of it. So are we firmly established in the present, and is that a living reality for us? Otherwise, we have been leading like this life, and we'll continue to do it. And maybe any number of lives, past and future. But that's of no relevance. What is of relevance is action now and here. Otherwise, now and here put together becomes nowhere. Thank you so much, Bharatji. for your observation. Yeah, I think
yes, I think we are done.
We have spent almost 1
Yes.
hour, 15 minutes. So thank you so much. If there are no further questions or discussions, I would like to say thanks to all the participants for your participation, and hope we continue our quest. The questions should become a quest. All the questions prevailing, in our mind should become a great quest for that truth. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Krishnafani ji, for beautifully explaining about the ignorance, immanence, and transcendence. Also, the 3 takeaways from the session. Once again, thank you to all the participants for your valuable presence this evening. Please join us for our 2 upcoming programs. Sunday, 29th November, we have a yoga program by Umesh Dhagat ji, starting from 7 a.m. onwards. It's based on boosting your immunity. And on next Friday, 4th December, we have a very special program by Dr. Asif Iqbal, the details for which will be posted in our WhatsApp group. Please block your dates for the upcoming webinars. Thank you once again for your presence and participation today from all of us at Team Ritambara.